The StepABout is a 2-channel preamp and routing pedal that can take any two input signals, 1 and 2, balance and equalize them, and then send them out through either or both of two outputs, A and B, by activating these 4 foot switches. It's designed to be the perfect front end for a stick rig, helping you shape your tone of each side of your instrument before running it into your effects or recording system. The BASSXX preamps provide a very dynamic signal with lots of headroom, similar to a nice tube preamp. Each input channel has a level, bass, and treble control, and sweepable mid-range control. The input stage of the StepABout is ideal for bringing out the full range signal of Emmett's passive stick-up pickups, or the Villex-equipped Passive 4. If you have an instrument with an active EQ like the NS Stick, or if you just want to record the true on-process sound of the instrument without any tone shaping, you can defeat the EQ circuit by pulling up on the treble pot. The input jacks are standard 1/4-inch jacks, and the output jacks are balanced TRS 1/4-inch. And you can also use a standard guitar patch cable with those. There's also a dual-function tuner and headphone output with its own separate volume control. This output is active even when all the input signals are bypassed to the A and B outputs, so you can tune with your main signal muted. Which brings us to the most unique aspect of the StepABout, the switching matrix. These 4 noise-free foot switches send the 2 inputs to the 2 outputs in any combination from full bypass to both inputs going to both outputs. In full bypass, you can check your tuning or listen to your instrument on headphones through a very dynamic headphone amp. You can then access 2 independent effects or amplifier paths by stepping on the switches. The BASSXX preamp has an incredible dynamic range with no perceivable self-noise. This means you can really boost or cut by 12 dB on each of the EQ bands, 15 dB for the treble, without introducing unwanted noise to your signal. If you're going to use a lot of EQ boost, you might want to turn down the channel volume so you don't overload the input of what you're plugging into. Listen to what happens when I boost the different EQ bands on the stick's bass strings. The bass pot adds a nice floor without introducing a lot of mud, up to 12 dB of shelving boost or cut. The treble band boosts like a peak EQ, but cuts like a shelving band. This means it emphasizes the articulation of the string tapping on the frets without adding any hiss, up to 15 dB of boost. Cutting the treble is like cutting a passive tone control. The sweet spot in all this is the sweepable mid-range EQ, which can add or cut over a wide frequency range. Here's the sound of the bass mid-range. So it's sweeping like a wah almost. I like to create a bass sound that has about that much bass boost, a little bit of high frequency boost, and then a little bit of kind of low mids. It brings out the chords really nicely. Has a nice warm sound. On the treble strings, the bass EQ provides a solid foundation without making the low strings overpowering like a standard shelving EQ can do. The mid-range control gives you precise tone shaping over the whole set of strings. More warming up or scooping out your sound as desired. And the treble band brings out the sound of the fingers tapping on the strings, almost like a pick attack. Even the most extreme boost doesn't add any appreciable noise. Which means you can come up with some pretty extreme tones or some very subtle ones. I like this jazz guitar sound. A little bit of highs cut back, a little high mids boost put in there. Okay, so we're going to start with the same sound on both sides. Both sides are going through a clean channel. They're both set up through A. Now if I just want to add a little bit of an organ sound to the melody side alone, I can send it out to B where I've got an organ patch. Or if I wanted to have that sound on the bass side, like this. Or I could have both sides going through the organ sound. The switches on the StepABout are positioned so that all you need to do is step once to change an output channel. So here I've got my melody side going through the clean sound. Now I step on it once, and now it's going through the organ sound. Or I can mute it, or have both. Sometimes it's nice to add an ambient effect to a basically clean sound. So here I'm going to have my melody side playing clean. And if I mix in a little bit of an ambient effect I've got on the bass side, and just my bass strings are on there. So the bass strings become part of this welling chord underneath without any articulation. But the melody strings have articulation. So now let's try putting a loop on one of the channels, but not having that channel be active. One of my favorite things to do is to have two different distortion sounds set up, one on the bass side, one on the melody side. And then when I mix them together, send both sides through both distortion processors. I guess it's time for me to unplug, so all I got to do is bypass, and I'm done. Thanks for watching.